I asked ChatGPT what are the 4 common things that keep people from becoming a millionaire, and here's what it said. Hi, I'm John Humanic. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited you're here today. I got a chance to go ahead and do some research with ChatGPT as a research aid to kind of talk about the very things that are keeping people from being able to move forward in their finances in victory. This is something we talk about on this channel a lot, that there are biblical principles that people that are continue to do, and those who don't do them continue to struggle and don't understand why, even though they themselves may have had some form of success, whether through school or even in their career. So I went ahead and did some research and talked to ChatGPT about the things that continue to hold people back. What are the things that are keeping you from being successful? What are the common problems that people experience? And so what it did is it went ahead and researched a bunch of topics and picked the top 4 things to be able to move forward. And they are really awesome. So let's go ahead, hop right into it. So the first one, number 1, that it found is that people like to spend like a consumer rather than start to think like an investor. And this one's actually pretty loaded. So we're going to go ahead and unpack this in a way that's really important, because there's not only the action that's involved, but the approach that's actually more important. So what happens is most people during their life, they're going to go ahead and chase comfort or entertainment or some form of status. That's a common thing that people do because they're either keeping up with their neighbors, the Joneses, or they just like to keep up on trends, and it's a part of their daily living. There's an aspect of trying to be satisfied in their activity so that they can feel good. So what happens is that people will start purchasing things that look like assets that ultimately become liabilities. There's no question that those things are like how the homes, the cars, maybe jewelry or other things. What they'll do is, even if they're not borrowing money, what they're going to do is they're just going to continue to live a lifestyle that's entertaining them, but not adding any value. So what happens is they'll upgrade their lifestyle every single time their income increases. And this is really important, rather than upgrading their investments. So what happens is that whenever they get a raise or they get their paycheck, even if they may not be living paycheck to paycheck, what people will end up doing is they'll take that excess money and then go out to dinner. Maybe head out to a movie, maybe go ahead and book a flight and go somewhere and spend some time shopping in New York City or in Vegas or in LA. What they do is they have this consumer mentality that continues to just basically consume their finances. And ultimately what happens is they miss the opportunity in understanding that money is a seed. And the biblical principles that God talks about in Proverbs and everything, a lot of people lie and say, hey, money is a tool, but they don't realize that's not true. Money is a seed, and it has to be planted, and that ultimately becomes what an investor does. So what you'll see is those people who are successful, wealthy people, not rich people, because there is a difference. Wealthy people, what they'll do is take every opportunity to take those assets, which are generally cash, and be able to invest it in something, whether it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cryptocurrencies, even in commodities like gold, silver, and other things, lithium. And what they do is they invest it because they want to have some form of income that comes back, whether it could even be real estate. And then what happens is when they've done enough of that investing and they've established a strong portfolio and things are moving forward, what they then do is, if they're continuing to make income, that's where they take that difference and then spend it. See, the difference is that a lot of people is the concept between the consumer and the investor is the consumer takes the paycheck and spends it, pays their bills, pays their debts, and then invests what's left. The wealthy people take what they have and invest it first, start making money, and then spend what's left. This is a really key concept, because when you start to shift your focus from a consumer to an investor, what happens now is that you'll actually put your money to work in a seed model that God has modeled throughout all of history and continue to produce itself. It's no different than if you went and basically planted a corn and you had a bunch of corn that was harvested. What do? Do you take and eat all the corn in a party and have fun? Or do you harvest the best corn, those kernels, and then the ones from the best seeds that you then plant back next season and then have a returning crop? It's exactly the same concept. That's the key part. Go from a consumption model into an investment model and you'll watch things continue to scale very quickly for you and very effectively. Number two is you trade time for money without building assets. This is a really powerful one that really hits people hard for a lot of different things. Because what happens is because this is, in fact, I would probably could have argued this could have been number one, is people get trapped. This is the thing. They get trapped in their 9 to 5 or their situations that only pay hourly. Even for those who are salary, where you can't get overtime, what happens is that you trade your time for money. This is the most challenging thing in this economy today. Capitalism takes advantage of those people who are willing to trade their time for money. And that's ultimately what it is. I'm not saying capitalism is evil. I'm not saying it's the best system either. But what it does do is that the people that show up, they're trading their time for money and they don't build any assets. There's nothing there for other than their paycheck. And so unless you're going to continue to grow in your hourly rate to a point where you can overflow, you're going to always cap. Think about it from the perspective of a bricklayer or a construction worker or anyone else that's working a hard job. They do hard work, yet they're not paid like doctors, celebrities, and even business owners. So why is it that a bricklayer or even a construction worker who has a really hard job that puts their time and uses their body to make money for their family are not getting equivalent pay? Because what happens is that there's no asset other than their own body and their own time. See, millionaires, what they do is they build systems and then they invest in those systems in business. They take those opportunities and acquire assets that make money while they sleep. That's the thing. Money is not a commodity. That's the only thing in this entire planet that's limited. But when you get into assets, they become scalable. These are all kinds of different income producing assets. As we described before, you have capability to invest in stocks. You have capability to do income producing assets like ebooks and courses. There's so many different things that are out there that people are buying. Businesses and systems, real estate, all these different things allow you to continue to acquire something that generates income and allows you to make money over time. Especially real estate is a powerful one because what it does is it allows them to continue to scale, because real estate, unlike purchasing cars and other things, will appreciate over time, generally at a pretty high scale if you've done it correctly and you're investing in the areas that are growing. And then you make money along the way. And those assets then allow, not only do you make money, but then they become more valuable over time. And those are scalable. That's the difference between people who are trapped in their jobs, trading time for money without actually building assets that make them money. Number three is avoiding financial literacy. This is extremely important because this is something that plagues people across the world. And in fact, it was something that even I myself am still continuing to try to improve upon day in and day out, is many people learn how to earn money. This is a thing because they have to pay their bills, they have to eat, they want to do some things, but they never truly learn how to manage the money, which is key because that's like budgeting and finance. They never learn how to multiply the money, which is talking about what we talked about earlier, which is income producing assets and being able to take your money and get something that will then grow it even more. They never learn to protect their money, to keep it safe and understand how to scale it. And then what happens is that ignorance will ultimately hurt more than any education that they would have paid for, whether that was either done micro learning through social media or even going to school, getting like an MBA. What happens is millionaires never stop learning. There's always a process of being able to take what they have. This process is to get better. So they understand the things about taxation. They understand how to take advantage of all those breaks. They understand how to leverage different things and their finances and how things are moving. They understand how real estate business works. They understand how business works, profits and loss and balance sheets. And the one thing that they truly understand, which is super critical, is cash flow. Because what happens is the moment you stop learning about money, what happens is then you stop gaining ground. So if you want to be able to then understand it, you're going to have to ultimately continue to be smarter about it and learn those systems in place that allow you to move forward. Because the moment you stop learning about these things, you're going to start paying the people who did, and that's ultimately going to let you get behind, unless it's obviously in your business. But it's very important that you continue to move forward in your financial literacy. literacy. It is a process. In fact, even if you're someone like a Warren Buffett who continues to invest, I would surely say that Warren Buffett would say there's more things to learn and to be able to move forward because he wants to be able to take what he's done and be more successful. And number 4, and the last one, is thinking small and playing safe. This is the thing in this whole comfort society, microwave society that we're living in. What happens is fear and anxiety and depression grip people more than probably anything on this planet. In fact, this is probably the one thing that keeps people from tithing to church. This is the same thing that keeps people from leaving their job and starting their business and doing all the things that God has called them to do. Because what happens is fear takes the guesswork and amplifies it up even more. That's the key thing. What it does is it takes those unknowns and takes that person from a place of being able to take a calculated risk and then puts them in a situation where they can no longer conceive how they can do that work. And so what happens is that they ultimately will be, is you'll see things happen that they're constantly waiting for perfect timing. And you see this, it's like, even it talks about this in Ecclesiastes 11, that if you continue to look at the world and the clouds and the seas, and you're waiting for that perfect timing to put money into the kingdom of God, you're never going to do it. Because what happens then is you're looking for perfect timing. They're always looking for some form of guarantee that the money comes back to them, or they'd go ahead and they do something, but then they just settle for just enough. They kind of just move forward, and it's like a step or half a step, but then that's like, okay, I'm done. That's it. And that's not how millionaires are made, because what happens is millionaires will make bold forward moves, but they're wise. They thought it through. They make calculated risks that say, given the circumstance that's there, I'm willing to go ahead and take a step forward because I know that I'll have the cash flow to continue to see it forward. I'll continue to move and be successful, that I will take this opportunity and then grow it even further. They understand that faith is coupled with action, because faith without action is functionally nothing. There is nothing related, because faith is a substance and it has to be attached with a forward and up motion. And what happens is when they fail to do that, they always compromise the abundance that's in front of them. So it's really important that when you start to think small and you want to play safe, there's times and places for that, because obviously you don't want to be risking your life savings and all kinds of other things. But there is opportunity even then to be able to move forward in victory and to know things and be critical of your decision making, but then say, okay, I've thought about this enough and I've played the odds, and I understand that, hey, that while there's still some opportunity for failure, there's more opportunity for success. And guess what? 51% out of 49 is still 51%. Therefore, you will win more than you will lose. And that's the key thing. So let me go ahead and recap the 3 things that we talked about today that continue to prevent people from becoming a millionaire. Number 1 is they spend their money like a consumer, and they never think like an investor. That's really, really critical. The number 2 is they trade time for their money without building any form of assets that allow their money to grow. Number 3 is they don't learn anything. They just live life and continue to enjoy it, but they don't actually ever get smarter. And then number 4, when they're about to take that step forward, they think too small and they play safe. They don't take calculated risks, because remember, we're not talking about risk. We're talking about calculated risks, something that you thought through, that you feel, hey, this is going to work for me. And even if it doesn't, it's okay. I'm not going to be at risk to losing everything. And they just stay stuck and they never move forward. I hope this video helped you. If it did, subscribe to this channel and share it with a friend. I'm expecting it to bless some people and continue to move us forward. God bless.